Hello, I'm Brian Young, and this is Module 00107, Basic Communication Skills. Let's get started. Basic communication skills. Successful completion of this module prepares you to do the following. Describe the communication, listening, and speaking processes and their relationship to job performance. Describe the communication process and the importance of listening and speaking skills. Describe the listening process and identify good listening skills. Describe speaking process and identify good speaking skills. Describe good reading and writing skills and their relationship to job performance. Describe the importance of good reading and writing skills. Describe job-related reading requirements and identify good reading skills. Define job-related writing requirements and identify good writing skills. And the performance task, your instructor is going to ask you to perform a given task after listening to oral instructions, fill out a work-related form provided by your instructor, and read and interpret a set of instructions for properly donning a safety harness, and then orally instruct another person on how to don the safety harness. Construction professional communicates constantly. The ability to communicate skillfully will help you make a better worker and a more effective leader. This module provides guidance in listening to understand and speaking with clarity. It explains how to use and understand written materials, and it also provides the technique and guidelines that will help you to improve your writing skills. 1.0.0 Communication Skills. Every construction professional learns how to use tools depending on your trade. The tools you use could include welding machines and cutting torches, press brakes and plasma cutters, or surveyor's levels and pipe threaders. However, some of the most important tools you'll use on the job are not the tools you can hold in your hand or put in a toolbox. These tools are your ability to read, write, listen, and speak. At first, you might think that these are not really construction tools. They're things you already learned how to do in school. So why do you have to learn them all over again? Types of communication that take place in the construction workplace are very specialized and technical, just like communications between pilots and air traffic controllers. Good communication results in a job done safely. A pilot hears and understands the message to change course to avoid a storm, and a construction worker hears and understands the message to install a water heater according to the local code requirements. In a way, you're learning another language, a special language that only trained professionals know how to use. Even though you'll use a professional language that other people may not understand, the same communication skills apply to all professions, whether doctors, builders, managers, or mechanics. So the following are some specific examples of why these skills are so important in the construction industry. Listening. Your supervisor tells you where to set up a safety barrier, but because you did not listen carefully, you missed a spot. As a result, your coworker falls and is injured. Speaking, you must train two coworkers to do a new task, but you mumble, you use words they don't understand, and you don't answer their questions clearly. Your coworkers do not do the task incorrectly, and all of you must work overtime to fix the mistakes. Reading. Your supervisor tells you to read the manufacturer's basic operating and safety instructions for the new drill press before you use it. You don't really understand the instructions, but you don't want to ask him, so you go ahead with what you think is the correct, and you damage the drill press. Writing. Your supervisor asks you to write up a material takeoff list for the project. You rush through the list and you don't check what you've written. The supplier delivers 250 feet of PVC pipe cut to your specified size instead of 25 feet. As you can see, good communication on the work site has a direct effect on safety, schedules, and budgets. A good communications toolbox is a badge of honor. It lets everyone know that you have important skills and knowledge. And like physical toolbox, The ability to communicate well verbally and in writing is something that you can take with you to any job. You'll find that good communication skills can help you advance your career. This module introduces you to the techniques you will need to read, write, listen, and speak effectively on the job. 1.1.0, the communication process. There are two basic steps to clear communication. First, a sender speaks a spoken or written message through a communication channel to a receiver. Examples of communication channels include meetings, phones, two-way radios, email. When the receiver gets the message, he or she figures out what it means by listening or reading carefully. If anything's not clear, the receiver gives the sender feedback by asking the sender for more information. That's the communication process. This process is called two-way communication, and it's the most effective way to make sure that everyone understands what's going on. It sounds simple, so why is good communication so hard to achieve? Well, this is highlighted. It says, when we try to communicate, a lot of things called noise can get in the way. Following are some examples of communication noise. The sender uses work-related words or jargon that the receiver does not understand. The sender does not speak clearly. The sender's written message is disorganized or contains mistakes. The sender is not specific. The sender does not get to the point. The receiver is tired or distracted or just not paying attention. The receiver has poor listening or reading skills or actual noise on the job. The construction site makes it physically hard to hear the message. There's a mechanical problem with the equipment used to communicate, such as static on a phone or radio line. 1.1.1, nonverbal communication. It's obvious that humans communicate with their words, known technically as verbal communication. If a mechanic asks for a ratchet set, he or she expects to get it because the words have a shared meaning between the listener and the speaker. However, did you know that people communicate constantly without using any words at all? This kind of communication is called nonverbal communication. It's hard to communicate some kind of information with nonverbal communication. For example, try asking for the ratchet set without any words. For expressing attitudes and emotion, nonverbal communication is a very powerful form of communication. Imagine you're talking to a doctor in a clinic. The whole time you're talking, he's yawning, checking his cell phone messages, and cleaning his fingernails. After you finish, he writes out a prescription. Do you trust the diagnosis and the value of the prescription? His nonverbal communication told you that he was bored and inattentive. Perhaps the doctor missed the most important thing you said about your condition, including an allergy to certain medications. Similarly, you can express feelings and attitudes in a variety of ways without intention. You may show you're nervous by fidgeting in your chair or fiddling with your hands. You may show that you're angry by raising your voice, folding your arms, and furrowing your eyebrows. This is what it means to furrow your eyebrows, to knit them together. You may show you're happy to see someone by smiling widely and giving him or her a warm handshake. The ways for a person to communicate nonverbally are limitless. Did you know following instructions prevents accidents? Many accidents are the result of not listening or not understanding instructions. For example, according to the study by the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration, over a 10-year period, 39% of crane operator deaths in the United States resulted from electrocution caused by contact with electrical power lines. This was the single largest cause of death in the study. How many of those accidents could have been prevented if the operator had heard, understood, and followed instructions? The answer is unknown, but it may have prevented all of them. There are several basic categories of nonverbal communication. Grooming. Generally, people who maintain an attractive appearance have more successful careers. A groomed appearance communicates self-discipline and awareness. Shaving or keeping a trimmed beard could make the difference between getting promoted at work, or being passed up by the newcomers. Dresses appropriately and neatly. Appropriate dress doesn't automatically mean formal dress. Imagine working on a hot rooftop in a suit. The best way to know how to dress in your work environment is to observe the people around you who are most successful, particularly the people in the position that you hope to obtain next. Even on occasions in which casual dress is allowed, such as company outing or baseball game, you must make sure that your casual clothing is clean and attractive. Casual does not mean messy. Condition of one's personal environment. People make their spaces their own by the way they arrange things, and even if the space does not belong to them. An office worker can show sloppy work ethics by having binders, pens, paper clips, and candy wrappers strewn about on his or her cubicle. A technician also might show a lack of responsibility by having gloves, coupons, magazines, and bags of fast food restaurants on the dashboard of his or her work vehicle. Use of time. Clearly, people show respect and care by arriving on time or early to their scheduled events. Workers who show up late may be considered lazy or inconsiderate by those around them. Further, they may hinder the productivity of the entire organization by making others wait for them. Facial expressions. One of the main ways that humans express and read emotions is through facial expressions. A smile can express interest and excitement. A frown could express displeasure or pain. An expressionless face expresses an emotion too, perhaps boredom or the desire to get away from whoever is talking. Of course, eyes are known as the windows to the soul. Direct eye contact can express interest, understanding, intelligence, and confidence. On the other hand, a lack of eye contact could show inattention, a lack of confidence, or deceit. A person should not look into the eyes of another person the entire time while speaking. Too much eye contact could give the impression of initiating a challenge or trying to dominate. There's no solid rule for what amount eye contact is appropriate. Different cultures have different rules. For example, in the West, authority figures expect subordinates to look at them when they are reprimanding them. In parts of Asia, however, etiquette requires the one being scolded to look down at the ground as a sign of respect. In the United States, people look at each other's eyes 50 to 60% of the time as they communicate. Posture and gestures. Slouching may feel comfortable, but it may also make people think you're a sloppy person. Here's a highlight. It says, likewise, folding your arms in front of you may make you feel warmer on a cold day, but it'll make you seem distant from others and unwilling to talk. Having a confident and powerful posture shows other people that you're confident and powerful. What if you feel timid and weak? Assume a powerful posture anyway. Research shows that people who kept a certain powerful posture for a few minutes, such as leaning slightly over a desk with their hands wide apart on the desk, experienced less stress and actually behaved more boldly when doing a task later. Physical distance. Various cultures have different accepted personal distances. People from some countries stand close together while speaking, whereas others stand further apart. Also, different social situations call for different personal range. People stand closer to their close friends and family members than they do their business associates. Here's one rule of thumb to follow. Let the more powerful person choose the distance. A manager or a company owner may politely come and stand close to an employee, but an employee would be rude to do the same thing to his or her manager. Sense of humor. A special tip, maintain a sense of humor. A good sense of humor will get you through many situations. As a construction professional, you should always take yourself seriously. This means speaking well and conveying the proper professional attitude. But your listeners will always appreciate you more if you show them that you have a sense of humor and have a light side to you. Humor can diffuse tension and relieve frustration over things that aren't working properly. Remember, though, never to tell off-color or offensive jokes or make jokes at another person's expense. Also, never play practical jokes as they can lead to accidents and injuries on the job. When it comes to safety and accuracy, information communicated on the job, uh, there's no doubt that what you say plays a greater role than the way you say it. However, beyond that, your nonverbal communication habits have a major effect on the quality of what is said, and how it is received. 1.1.2 Listening and speaking skills every day on the job can be a learning experience. The more you learn, the more you'll be able to help others learn too. An effective method of learning and teaching is through verbal communication, that is, through speaking and listening, like I'm doing now. As a construction professional, you need to be able to state your ideas clearly. You also need to be able to listen to and understand ideas that other people express. The following are some of the ways that verbal teaching and learning take place on the job. Giving and taking instruction. One worker may read the steps in a calibration process while a second worker accomplishes the task. Offering and listening to presentations. Equipment manufacturers may visit the job site or offices to provide operating instructions for a new piece of equipment. Participating in team discussions. Safety is often discussed among teams. Offer your input. Talking with your co-workers and your supervisor. Listen carefully as they speak without distracting yourself by thinking of a response too quickly. A slight pause in the conversation to prepare a reasonable response after a speaker is finished actually encourages others to listen more carefully to you. Talking with clients. Again, listening skills are critical. Before we discuss some of the ways to become a more effective listener and speaker, evaluate your current speaking and listening skills by completing the self-assessment quiz in Figure 3. All right, we're not going to do that, but you should go over this and try to figure out what type of a speaker you are and what type of a listener you are. Listening in the classroom. When you're in the classroom, be aware of things that affect your ability to listen well, like your cell phones. Put them away. Take action to correct these problems. Is someone on the other side of the room speaking too softly? Ask other classmates to face the class when they speak and to speak loudly. Is there noise out in the hall? Ask permission to close the door to shut out the noise from outside. Did your instructor say something you didn't understand? Ask your instructor to explain things you didn't understand. At this stage in your career, you'll probably do more listening than speaking. You may be wondering why it's so important to be a good listener. The answer is simple: experience. People learn by listening, not by speaking. You're only beginning to learn how the construction industry works. There's a lot to learn. Teachers, supervisors, and experienced workers can guide you to make sure you are learning what you need to know. 1.2.0 Active listening on the job. You might think that listening just happens automatically, that someone says something and someone else hears it. However, real listening, this is a highlight. Real listening, the process of not only hearing but of understanding what is said, is an active process. There you go. You have to be involved and pay attention to really listen. In other words, understanding begins with active listening. Active listening, a process that involves respecting others, listening to what is being said, and understanding what is being said. You must develop good listening skills to be able to listen actively. This section presents some tips and suggestions that you can use to develop good listening skills. First of all, you should understand that the possible consequences of not listening. Poor listening skills can cause mistakes that waste time and money and may even result in injury or loss of life. Recognize that other people may have important things to say. Even if what they are currently saying is boring, they may happen to mention something vitally important, like what to do when an alarm goes off. Refuse to allow yourself to be distracted. If a work-related conversation or presentation is taking place, be there in the room listening, not darting around from place to place in your mind. If it helps you to stay focused, keep a pad of paper with you. When you're sidetracked by thoughts of something you need to do later, just jot down a couple of words about it. Then put the matter out of your mind. One way to stay focused is to show that you are listening with your body language. That is your facial expression, your posture, your gestures. Not only does body language communicate something to other people, it affects you as well. It was mentioned earlier that behaving confidently can actually make you feel more confident. Similarly, acting like you're listening can actually help you listen better. While you listen, maintain eye contact and acknowledge what is being said by nodding or making appropriate sounds to show that you're paying attention. While the other person is speaking, do not interrupt or criticize. Instead, wait until he or she is finished and then ask plenty of questions, especially if he or she gave incomplete or unclear instructions. Asking questions can minimize misunderstandings and maximize your memory of the content. Of course, your mind will never remember perfectly, so take notes on what is said, especially if the content is technical in nature, dealing with numbers, times, amounts, temperatures, and other such data. Finally, end a conversation by paraphrasing what you heard back to the conversation partner. Express something heard or read using different words. Put it in your own words. Paraphrasing is the act of repeating what you heard in your own words. By using your own words, you can check the accuracy of your understanding. Therefore, it's important not to simply repeat what the person said exactly. The original speaker must listen carefully to ensure the paraphrased information is also accurate. Let's see here. It says, just providing a simple summary in your own words of what was said could save time, money, or even someone's life. Paraphrase instructions whenever you can. It completes the act of listening just as installing a roof completes the construction of a building. 1.2.1 Barriers to listening. As you've learned, listening well takes some work on your part. However, even when you have mastered effective listening skills, you'll still have to overcome some barriers that'll keep the message from getting through. Just like the warning signs on a construction site that indicate hazards to be avoided, there are some signs that indicate problems in the process of listening and understanding. Emotion. When angry or upset, humans tend to stop listening actively. Try counting to 10 or asking the speaker to excuse you for a moment. To go get a drink of water and calm down. When you're ready, come back and focus your mind on the task to be done. Boredom. Maybe the speaker's dull or overbearing. Maybe you think you know it already. There's no easy tip for overcoming this barrier. You just have to force yourself to stay focused. Distractions. Anything from too much noise and activity on the site to problems at home can steal your attention. If the problem is noise, ask the speaker to move away from it. If it's a personal problem is keeping you from listening, concentrate harder on staying focused. In some cases, it may help you to explain to your supervisor why you're having trouble concentrating. Your ego. Do you finish people's sentences for them? Do you interrupt others a lot? Do you think about the things you're going to say next instead of listening? That's your ego putting itself squarely between you and effective listening. Be aware of your ego and try to tone it down a bit so you can get the information you need. 1.3.2 Receiving a telephone call. How you answer the phone call is just as important as how you place the phone call. Remember to be professional and courteous when answering your phone because you don't know who's going to be on the other end of the line. When you receive a phone call, remember the following guidelines. Don't just say hello. Identify yourself immediately by giving your name and the company name. Don't keep people on hold for long. People generally resent it. Instead, ask the caller if you can call back at a later time. Transfer calls courteously and introduce the caller to the recipient. Keep your calls brief. If the call is of a personal nature, continue working and do not answer. There are other opportunities throughout the day when you can return the call without interfering with the job or creating a safety hazard. Finally, never talk on the phone in front of coworkers, supervisors, or customers. This is usually considered rude and unprofessional. Cultural interpretation. Communication is culturally diverse. Our experiences and surroundings, along with context, individual personality, and mood, help to form the ways we learn to speak and give nonverbal messages. For instance, in Europe, the correct form for waving hello or goodbye is to keep your hand and arm stationary, palm out, with fingers moving up and down. In America, the common wave is the whole hand in motion moving back and forth. In Europe, the common American hand gesture of a wave means no, and in Greece, it's considered an insult. It's important to remember that not all people communicate in the same way, so be aware of your surroundings when choosing your words and actions. 1.0.0 section review. Making meetings last longer than they were scheduled is a good way to show that you're a diligent person that wants to encourage others to work hard too. False. If the content of a speech or conversation is technical in nature, including a lot of data such as numbers, be sure to take notes. When the best place and time to give assembly instructions, when is the best place and time to give assembly instructions to the team? In a quiet place when they're fresh and not too tired. Yeah, I like that. What of the following is banned in some workplaces because it can cause wasted time, accidents, and the theft of intellectual property? Cell phones. There's some places where you're not allowed to have a cell phone on the job. When making a telephone call, start by identifying yourself. Okay, well, this concludes 00107 communication skills. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. If you did, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.